Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome in to the BTC Mastermind show. I am your host, Jerry Loves Freedom, where BTC stands for Be the Change and Master Your Mind. I am joined with my other co host, my pristine panelist guest here, or co host, Jor from 88 Sats Radio. Jor, how are you doing today, sir?
Hello. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day here today. I was kind of down in the dumps yesterday a little bit, but I bounced back. So I think that's a normal thing, right? As long as you can have more good days than bad. I think that's the goal. I have bad days once in a while, but feeling good today. I'm going to do some golf actually right after the show today. We're going to go out for a round of golf. So don't have much left. Don't have a whole lot of golf left. But I might be making my way down towards you this winter at some point. I don't know how long and to where, but definitely got to escape the Canadian cold here for a little while. It's a plan.
Really? Tell me about that.
Yeah, just looking at a couple different options. There's Arizona's on the table, Nevada's on the table, South Carolina's on the table. I don't know. Just get out of here for a while. It's freaking. I don't know how many people who would watch this stream would have ever experienced a Canadian winter before, but it's tough, man. It takes a toll on you.
Wow. So are you like looking to get a second place or just somewhere to chill for a
Yeah,
little
probably
bit?
just rent. I won't buy another place.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it's crazy you're saying that. I'm thinking about doing the exact same thing here during the summers here. It is just too effing hot. Like June 1st until September 1st or May 31st, leave, come back September 1st. Cuz
September
it's just
1st.
yeah,
Oh yeah. So
it's hot.
your bad part's just about over then.
Yeah, but it still might be hot, man. Like it's so hot you can't even function. You know what I mean? Like I just in between my this show and the other show and this show, I went outside. I looked at my thing. It's 105 fucking degrees out at 10 in the morning. It's like, come on, man.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds hot.
Uh,
105?
105 degrees. Yeah, it's actually 10. It was 102. No, it was 101, and it felt like 105. Like right now, it's 103, and it feels like 107.
Fahrenheit. Ooh, 40. Yeah, wow.
So right now it's 103, and it's always that. You see at the bottom, extreme heat warning. That's the weather, 103. And then this is what I check for. What does it actually feel like? Well, it actually feels like 107. And not that comfortable, man. I don't know how to use this when I got two people on here. This thing, you got to
We are
start off.
professionals.
Yeah, it's different for me. This setup is different than mine. But
Is it?
anyways, yeah. When I'm on this stream, it's different.
Huh.
Hold on, let me.
Hey,
Anyways,
Scotty Boy, Spaceman, can you guys let us know how our audio is? Are we similar or is Jerry louder? Because I was listening to it the other day, listening back, because I've been struggling with my audio here for a week now, and I sounded quite a bit. I didn't sound low, but I mean it's you sounded higher to me. So I don't know what it is. Let us know, whoever's watching this right now. Let us know how the audio is.
well, I got a big mouth, man. Spaceman, welcome in. Scotty, welcome in. He says, "Hello, is this the right place for 3 a.m. coding?" Yo, what's up, VHF? Jerry is louder. Yes, I'm always louder, man. You don't want to know, Scotty says. Anyways, guys, as you can see here, we're at the Bitcoin block item 964,178. Today's Bitcoin price is 78,510, but you can get yourself 1,274 units of the hardest, greatest, most incredible money in the world. And I say these things because one day people are going to look back at these videos and they're not going to believe what we got. For $1 that they just print like it ain't nothing. You know what I mean? Jor is much quieter, he says. Thank you, Toby.
Okay. Well, I just turned my mic up in StreamYard here. It was at 100. Now it's at 150. So let me know now. This should be better. Like it should have tightened the gap. I just hope I'm not too loud now. But yeah, man, I didn't change anything in my setup. In fact, my mic's quite a bit closer than it was last week, and for some reason, I sound way quieter than everybody else. What's your settings at right now?
My settings, because I had to turn mine down. My settings right now are at 150.
Okay, so that's what mine's at now too.
150. And sometimes it does that. It just does that. Cheers. What's up, man?
So that would make sense. If you're at 150 and I was at 100, you should be louder. But now that I'm 150 as well, we should be pretty close at least, hopefully.
Not too loud in your stream. You sound fine to me, man.
Yeah, I know, but it's because it's only the two of us and we don't have microphones in. Tiny bit better. Feels like you were talking through a wall. But what the hell? Frick, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Oh well. I guess I'll just, as long as I'm not blaring people's, as long as I'm not blaring eardrums here, like I'll just get closer to the microphone and then I'll try to figure something out. Maybe it's something that I changed in my mic settings by accident or something. Anyways, let's carry on. What do we got going on today?
Well, you are good, buddy. Okay. Well, Bitcoin's braced for the Fed's biggest speech of the year. That's going to be happening on Friday, which is a big one. Jor is better after the boost. Okay. Thanks, guys. Yeah, not much going on actually today. But the Fed is meeting for whatever this is. Well, I had it up here earlier. But
look at this. Look at Jerry taking advantage of AI here. Love to see it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It is better than last week. Okay, good. Hey, guys. Hey, 6'5" Sats. I don't really have a lot on the table. I was looking, I looked at my AI and they were just giving me some generic stuff, to be honest with you. Just talking about what's going on Friday with the meeting and stuff like that. Talking about Jackson Hole, Clarity Act in Washington, core versus knots. We talked about that. Self-custody still matters. $3 billion in ETF inflows. Again, it's nothing crazy going on right now. But again, Bitcoin went up, and that's the big news. What's your sentiment right now, Jor? As far as Bitcoin sitting at 78,468, up from a much lower price last week. What's your because last week at the same time we were where were we at? 69,000. Now we're 9,000 higher a week later. What do you think about that?
Man, I think that these next couple of years are actually going to be bonkers. Like there's so many things happening right now. It's like almost impossible. Like it seems like nothing's happening, but also everything's happening. Like there's just so many things. And the thing about Bitcoin is it's a global asset, right? And so there could be something 2,000 miles from here that impacts it. There could be something right next door to me that impacts it. And there's never ending news, and there's never ending. It's just like even Canada, like our Canadian government, we're at war with the U.S. right now. Trump and Carney are kind of going back and forth. We got, the puppets coming out from Canada saying that, Trump can kiss my ass, Doug Ford. But it was interesting, Scotty. I was going to do a video of this, and I'm hoping to right after or some point tonight, maybe even tomorrow. But it was interesting because they announced after the trade war, they figured that the small businesses were going to be the ones who are suffering from this, obviously, with the tariffs and stuff like this. And so they came out and announced this 24 hours later after the war, after the deal fell through. They announced that they were going to be printing essentially or creating $7.5 billion in aid to these businesses, $7.5 billion in aid. And Scotty in the chat this morning said that's about 90,000 Bitcoin in Canada, or if it was American prices, but it's about 75,000 Bitcoin the value of that, like $7.5 billion worth. So 75,000 Bitcoin. And I forget what the exact amount of days was, but like just think about those two comparisons of the fiat system and the Bitcoin network, where somebody can just decide that they're going to create 7.5 billion units of the currency. They just decide that. They don't need to do anything. They don't need to have, make anything or produce any sort of energy towards it. It's just like snap your fingers, 7.5 billion units created. And then I think that they figured out it would take 200 days or something, hitting every block to get that amount in Bitcoin terms. So that just shows how fake one system is and how you actually have to, contribute energy and proof of work in Bitcoin. And I really think that, some of the conversations I've been having with people lately is that that's the easiest way to describe Bitcoin now. It's like most people understand that fiat is fake and it doesn't take anything to create it. They can just basically add numbers to a spreadsheet or, print it to infinity. Whereas Bitcoin, you say, well, you actually, it requires energy. It's like an energy money. People understand that. I've had a couple conversations over the last couple of weeks of people who aren't Bitcoiners, but are curious. And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. Energy money. So even though that's like a very small component of what Bitcoin is in the grand scheme of things, people can understand that because they see their dollars being debased and the implications of that now. So in terms of my sentiment, I know that's a long answer, but it's just like we're in for it here. I really don't know how high this thing is going to go in the next couple of years, but it's going to be high. It's going to be. Just because there's so many signs pointing towards that. And I don't think any of us are really ready for that, to be honest with you.
I agree with everything you just said. And I'm going to play that Coinbase thing that I always play. I have to after you just said that. But the thing is, man, it's like when they're printing that many dollars that quickly, like you just said, we're not going to be ready. We weren't even ready for a $13,000 whatever we did in this last week. That was like, oh my God. Everybody's like, that's nothing compared to what's going to happen. Check this out.
Bitcoin was the size of a quarter. All 21 million of them would fit inside a single shipping container. But to fit the dollars the Fed prints on average every day, you'd need 72 shipping containers. Each year, you'd need 26,280 containers. And to fit what they've printed in the last decade, well, you'd need a lot more than that.
When you look at that size comparison and, all the money in the world is that little first shipping container right there. And on the back of what George has said, it's going to get a lot worse than that. Because when you are already printing money in order to, quote unquote, catch up or pay what you got to do and all this other stuff and with the money supply that's already in the system, guess what you have to do? You think they're going to print more or print less? They have to print more, right? Scotty, what's going to happen in 166 days?
That's how long it would take to essentially create money in Bitcoin. And that's assuming, and that's really like how people should be thinking about this. Again, because the government of Canada just snapped their fingers and said that they're coming out with $7.5 billion in aid for these businesses that are going to suffer from the tariffs, from the trade war. So that took zero energy. They did it in less than 24 hours. They managed to create $7.5 billion. Obviously, we know the majority of that's not going to go to the businesses. We know that, but that's not the point here. Point is that if government didn't have the ability to just snap their fingers and create money, and they had to do it using a network or a system like Bitcoin's, it would have taken them 166 days, assuming that they hit every block. So you can imagine the difference in like the energy there of literally just snapping your fingers versus all the hash rate that would have to come into the Bitcoin network to win every single block. And it would still take 166 days for them to create that amount of money in the Bitcoin network. So that just shows how crazy this fiat system is that we have and how, superior Bitcoin is to that, because it takes away their ability to do that. And when they do that, it destroys society. It destroys families. It destroys the quality of everything that we use, because every unit that they create makes ours worth less. Every unit they create dilutes ours and makes our savings and our purchasing power worth less. So thank God for Bitcoin, because I don't really have to worry about that shit because I don't hold any Canadian dollars. So they can print as much as they want. It doesn't affect me.
Man, that was well said. And I did not know it took that long, 166 days. I never even thought of it like that. That's why I love doing these shows, listening to these shows. And that's why you guys got to stay plugged in for stuff like this and talk to Bitcoiners every day, because we're the minority in the world. And people don't understand that this system right here that we're looking at, in comparison to this, people don't even know neither one of these systems, right? They don't know what's going on. All they see is things are going up and the economy is bad. They don't know what the base layer is. They have no idea why. What's up, Ginger? And that's what we have to do, right? We want adoption of Bitcoin. And again, it ain't about the Bitcoin. It's about teaching them about the system and how it's broken. And it's just sad, man. It really is. And I used to tell my gold and silver stackers this, and I'm going to tell you guys this the same thing, because mostly, not all of them, but a lot of gold and silver stackers are kind of like doomers, and they're saying, oh, the dollar's going to crash and this, that, and the third. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just saying that in the U.S., okay, because I know George's Canadian, but in the U.S., if the dollar crashes, that means all the other currencies are probably going to crash first. So if they're going to crash, the U.S. dollar will probably be the last to go. And obviously Bitcoin would be the very, very last to go. But I just tell people, I say, look, man, I said, you have to understand what the system is, right? You got to understand what the government is doing, what the Fed is doing, and what this, I don't want to get in trouble. I say, this criminal organization is doing. Okay, I'll just say it like that. I was going to say something else, it's not about the doomer stuff, man. Because a lot of us get involved in that, like, oh, it's this bad. We know what the problem is. You don't, and I tell gold bugs this all the time. You don't want the dollar to crash. You don't want the economy to crash, okay? Because a lot of people, most people, don't understand what this is. And if they don't understand what this is, and they're bringing in all this helicopter money and all this free stuff and this, that, and the third, I told people in 2021, I said, man, make me the king for the day or the president of the day. This is what I would do. Not give out a bunch of money. Okay. Don't give out a bunch of helicopter money and shut the whole country down. What you need to do is just have us stop paying taxes and open the country back up. Right. Stop paying taxes, stop fucking spending, and open the country back up. You can do that on your own by buying Bitcoin. Right. How do you do that? Go out here and work your fucking ass off. Right. Create value out here. Save it in Bitcoin, but tell other people's. Have a lifeboat of, Lightning wallets to, say, hey, here's a couple sats for you. Here's a couple sats for you. But with those sats, you teach them what's going on. And it's just tough, man. It's tough because this is why, again, you guys need to stay plugged in with channels like this, so you don't feel like you're on a desert island. But at the same time, you do not want to be caught out there. If the system does crash, I'm not saying it is or not. But you just want to be ready. All Johnson, wait, Jerry, do you know what's going on in Garrett? No. Oh, my God. No, I didn't know that, bro. I didn't know anything about that. But I found a video of Corey Clipston talking about AI and what AI can do for Bitcoin. And I wanted to play this video. Did you want to say something first, Jor?
Yeah, I just think that there's too many things in place now, and Bitcoin is one of them, believe it or not, that I really don't think that we're going to have a collapse. I don't see any scenarios where the US dollar gets debased at that rate. Again, I know I keep repeating this, but every freaking day, man, I just see more and more signs that this is becoming true. Which is like we're seeing more and more of Scott Bessent right now, who's obviously the Treasury Secretary, and we've seen the Federal Reserve and the Treasury kind of merge over the last couple months here, and it would just make so much sense to me to prevent a collapse, not only just in America, but like you said, if the U.S. dollar collapses, I think the world overall is going to be in a big, and I don't think anybody wants that, and I just don't think. Not only like us average people, obviously, but I don't think anybody wants that.
The gold bugs do, though. That's my point.
Yeah,
some of these gold bugs actually want it to happen.
I don't know that they wanted to. I think that they're just like looking at the objective data and saying that there's nowhere else for this to go. I think that they're just putting their chips on the table and saying it has to happen. This is what I'm going to do.
That's partly right, but I'm telling you, most of these gold stackers, the guys that are brothers and sisters out here, they want it to happen because they want their gold to go up, and they think, oh, everybody's going to want the gold now. They really want that. We talked about that all the time on my channel, and I tell people, no, you don't want that.
Well, I mean, sorry, I said that they don't want that, but obviously if they have a financial interest in that happening, then they probably do. A portion of them wants that to happen. I don't think they fully understand what that would mean and what it would look like, but you're right. And so I do think that this merger between the Treasury and the Federal Reserve and seeing more and more Scott Bessent, and it seems like he's kind of the guy that's pulling the strings in terms of like the dollar as a weapon, as whatever you want to call it. He's the one talking about Iran and the sanctions and what we were talking about on Monday. That didn't happen before. It was always Jerome Powell who were having these conversations, which was the Federal Reserve. And so I really think that the merge here, more and more Bessent, is just all things are pointing towards this, where the fiat dollar, as we know it, the Federal Reserve note, I think they know that it's toast. There's no coming back from that at this point. So again, I do think that they're going to create this new Treasury dollar. It's going to be backed by assets, because if you think about the US's balance sheet and its strength, they have a lot of assets. They do. And whether you want to include the gold in there or not, that's, I think that's still even a minor portion of their assets on their balance sheet. But what's their debt? Well, they owe it to the Federal Reserve. That's, the $40 trillion. Okay, well, what if you just made the debt disappear somehow? And I'm not saying that it's going to be an easy thing, but I do think that it's possible to do. So then all of a sudden you have all these assets without any sort of debt anymore. That's looking pretty good. And you say, hey, here's this new currency called the US Treasury dollar. It's backed by gold. It's backed by oil. It's backed by energy. It's backed by Bitcoin. It's backed by all these things. Our productivity, AI, the real estate, Wall Street, all this stuff. And you see things like this, and it's like, okay, well, I don't know who's doing this, but there's something to this. So then how would this work then, I guess, for the average US citizen? Because overnight then, all of a sudden, the U.S. would essentially wipe out its debt. And I think people heard and mocked, actually, when Trump said, well, just throw a couple Bitcoins your way to pay off the debt. Remember when he said that? And people were like, okay, well, what's Bitcoin going to be worth $1 trillion? Well, in Federal Reserve notes, it actually could be at some point here. But how would this affect U.S. citizens? Well, if all of a sudden you got rid of that $40 trillion in debt, which is really nothing, I mean, who's it owed to? Who are the stakeholders that are owed that $40 trillion? I don't think people really think that far into it. Who is it? I don't know. But all of a sudden you say, okay, well, the Federal Reserve note, and what they would do, I think, is they're going to revalue the gold to be like $25,000 an ounce. So obviously gold bugs are going to be happy about that. And then they say, okay, well, this new US Treasury dollar, you can trade all of your old Federal Reserve notes 1-to-1 for this new Treasury dollar. So all of a sudden you strengthen the entire country, the entire economy, because you wipe out your debt, you give your citizens 1-to-1 a currency that is actually backed by something, and then things really start to get into motion, because that's really the only thing that's holding the U.S. back in my eyes at this point is the Federal Reserve. And what power do they really have? What real power does the Federal Reserve actually have? Do they have a military? No. Do they have gold? No. They have gold certificates, but they don't have the actual gold. That belongs to the U.S. Treasury. Do they have any land? No. What do they have? What is their real power that the Federal Reserve has that they could make the U.S. country pay them $40 trillion? And if you don't have an answer to that, I don't know if anybody does, but it's just like, it makes so much sense that that's where this is going to. And that would make all U.S. citizens wealthy overnight, because now you're owning a piece of the government's assets. If your currency is backed by those assets, all of a sudden the citizens are part of that. And I just don't see any way around that. And I don't think anybody wants to see an economy collapse and a country collapse. And I think that this is their only way out. I really do.
Wow. Yeah, well said, Jor. I never heard it from that angle, man. That was very well said. And I don't try to get people into Bitcoin. I do try to teach them about all the things that you just said in a, kind of a, low level way or whatever. Because it's
crazy.
Less
crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And I just tell people, I say, look, man, just buy things that, they can't print.
Exactly.
Just buy things that are hard to get. Even real estate. I know real estate ain't the best, but like Robert Kiyosaki said, real estate is not an asset. Well, it can be. Things like gold, things like things are hard to print. Trump will default into debt. Yeah. All right, let's see what Corey Clipston. He used to be the CEO of Swan. I think he's something with Swan now. But he was talking about the AI boom could send Bitcoin violently higher, but not the way you think. So let's hear this. Let's take a look.
The AI boom is starting to collide with America's debt problem. Dallas Fed cites estimates of $3 to $5 trillion for the data center build out over the next 3 to 5 years. For the first few years, the biggest technology companies could mostly pay for this out of their own cash flows. Now they are borrowing the money. The 5 biggest hyperscalers have already issued roughly $220 billion of bonds this year, according to BNP Paribas data reported by Reuters. That compares with only about $12.5 billion over the same period last year. This matters because Washington needs many of the same long-term bond investors. The federal government is running a deficit of roughly $2 trillion a year. Debt held by the public is more than $32 trillion, and net federal interest expense is on pace to exceed $1 trillion this fiscal year. So Treasury already needs investors to absorb massive amounts of government debt, and now the AI build-out is adding hundreds of billions of dollars of new corporate bonds alongside it. Treasuries and corporate bonds are obviously not perfect substitutes. Some investors need treasuries for collateral, liquidity, or regulatory reasons, but pension funds, insurance companies, and large bond funds have a finite appetite for long-term interest rate risk, and the AI boom is giving them a lot more alternatives. Reuters reports that investors are already demanding higher yields to absorb all of this new hyperscaler debt, and that the surge is adding upward pressure to treasury yields. I do not think AI is the main reason treasury yields are high. The government's own deficits, inflation, economic growth, and Fed policy matter much more. The point is that AI has suddenly become another very large supplier of long-term bonds into a market that was already being asked to absorb enormous treasury issuance. Nomura estimates that roughly $200 billion of borrowing by the largest technology companies this year is equivalent to about a quarter of Treasury's net issuance of notes and bonds to private investors. That does not mean AI borrowing is somehow a quarter of the federal deficit. It means this new supply of long-term tech debt has become very large relative to the new Treasury notes and bonds private investors also have to absorb. The Dallas Fed reached the same basic conclusion earlier this year, warning that AI financing was likely to add significant long-term interest rate risk to the market. Now, private borrowing has a natural break. If rates get high enough and a data center no longer makes economic sense, Amazon or Google can slow the project down. Treasury does not have that option. It has to refinance debt as it comes due, and Washington is not going to make a $2 trillion deficit disappear overnight. Higher rates also do not hit the federal budget all at once. But as existing debt rolls over at higher rates, interest expense rises, which makes the deficit worse and requires even more borrowing. The best argument against this thesis is that AI could ultimately generate so much productivity and economic growth that the fiscal benefit overwhelms the financing pressure. I think that is entirely possible, but the timing matters. The borrowing is happening now. The productivity payoff, if it comes, shows up over years. So the bond market has to finance the AI build out before we know how large the economic payoff is going to be. And this is where I think it becomes bullish for Bitcoin. If Washington's financing costs keep rising while deficits remain this large, the incentive gets stronger to reduce the real cost of the debt. That can mean easier monetary policy, tolerating more inflation, or financial repression, basically holding the return on government debt below inflation so the debt becomes easier to carry in real terms. That is good for the borrower and bad for the person holding the bond. Bitcoin has a fixed supply and no issuer, so if AI makes an already difficult fiscal problem more expensive to finance, that is bullish for Bitcoin. It has nothing to do with AI agents paying each other in Bitcoin. When I think about the connection between AI and Bitcoin, I am watching the bond market.
I never heard that angle. What do you think about that, Jor?
I don't know, man. To be honest with you, hard for me to listen to what he's saying there. Just with all the
same.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a very fiat angle, and I understand that he's a Bitcoiner. He's obviously knows what he's talking about, but like the average person is not going to understand what he's saying, and the average person shouldn't need to understand what he's saying. I think that's the whole point. Right? Like this system has just got so many moving parts to it. And they have so many moving parts because when one starts to fill up with water, then they move to a different compartment. and then they just keep slushing these funds around. Well, the average person's getting poorer and poorer, and the people at the top are getting richer and richer. That is a K-shape economy. And that might make sense. That might have made sense 10 years ago if we had something like Bitcoin. I just think we're past that now, man. I really do. I just think we're, in terms of like the world that I see now, I know that that world will continue to exist for a while. But again, it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, Tobe said I zoned out. That's what I mean. It's like, it's just stupid. It's stupid that we have to talk about these things. Like they're not even real things. It's just like an entire fucking game of duck, duck, goose. Who's going to be the goose today? It's just stupid. There's no real value there. There's nothing. It's just, I don't know, man. It's hard to put into words of what I'm trying to say, but I think people understand what I'm trying to say. It's just all fake.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, bro. Because me and you come from we come from finance, right? And I used to talk about this shit all the time. That used to be my world before. And again, I thought I understood money. I still didn't understand money when I was doing all that shit, right? Talking about all that stuff, literally. And I wasn't playing it to make it like a something to learn about or something like that. It's just that, again, a lot of people talk like this. The people in finance, in the quote unquote fiat finance game, that's how they talk, right? So sometimes we do have to meet them where they're at when it comes to stuff like that. And I'm not saying he's wrong for what he's saying, but at the same time, me and Jor have a lot of things in common. We keep things nice and simple, right? We show you the Bitcoin block height. We show you what the price is, how many sats you get per dollar. We show the video about the Coinbase showing how many dollars that are coming in versus the Bitcoin. So when you look at it at a keep it simple, stupid principle status, like, okay, that's it. We know all that bullshit is going on outside that system. But yes, we do get paid in cash. Yes, we are in the fiat system. But we're trying to move people over to this new system. It's just like, what the heck? Like, and again, I know people, I have a lot of friends and family that still have fucking bonds. And I'm just like, why in the fucking... And again, I had bonds. I was like, stocks and bonds, you own a piece of the company and bonds are guaranteed by the government. I was all for that stuff, right? And it's still a thing. But I want to embrace that B in bonds and B with Bitcoin. Because anybody in bonds should say, you know what? If I'm going to have something that's guaranteed, because that's what a bond is, right? It's a government issued bond. Like the government is guaranteed. Exactly. If that's the case, then put it into another B, right? And just say, forget all this stuff, man. And when I see AI, and let's go back to basic principles here. When I see AI, and he's kind of right, it's all, because a lot of us Bitcoiners like, oh, AI is going to want Bitcoin and payments, which I'm not saying it's not. But here's how I look at it. AI is fucking smart, okay? I want you guys to think about what AI is. AI is intelligence. It's literally intelligence. You say something to your AI, you type it in, talk to it, whatever, and they come out and tell you something, and they pull all this information from all these internets, and they give it. If you ask, and don't even come from a Bitcoin angle, if you ask AI what's the best money, they're going to tell you Bitcoin. Objectively speaking, they're going to tell you Bitcoin. Now, again, I am a Bitcoiner, so my algorithms with the AI might be a little skewed with that. But the way I look at AI is this. The more and more people use AI, the more people are going to get smarter. They're going to understand the system, and they're going to learn Bitcoin more. Because AI knows what Bitcoin is. And somebody say, hey, what's this Bitcoin thing? Break it down to me like I'm 5, right? And they'll do it. And they'll say, oh, this is what it is, and blah, blah. And not only will they explain what Bitcoin is, the AI will, they'll explain what the system is as well. So again, I know nobody here has bonds, but this is why we have to be the change, if you will, and help people understand what the system is and get them as close as you can out of this system into a better system, and that's Bitcoin.
Yeah, agreed. Kind of 3 points, and I was going to try to write them down, but I'll try to remember them. Number one, the average person should not have to understand that to save their money. You know what I mean? You shouldn't have to understand it, and you shouldn't have to pay some dipshit in a suit 2 or 3% a year to hold on to your money. It shouldn't be a thing. It should never be a thing. The only reason why that's a thing is because people like that exist. And I'm not trying to shit on Corey here, but there's people out there who basically make a living off the financial markets, and it's not even a real thing. So the average person should not have to understand what he's talking about in order to keep their purchasing power. Number one. Number two, think about like a bell curve, right? And I feel like in terms of this, even though you and I are kind of like in the finance world and have always been in the finance world, the bell curve, I would say I'm just left side of it. And, that's usually the people who win. The people like Corey are in the middle there, and they're overcomplicating things. They're thinking they're trying to do too much almost. And again, I'm not shitting on Corey, although I don't know if I like him or not yet. But that's to be told. But they're the ones who overthink things and try to get too cute and take on leverage and take on all these things. And it's just like when you understand how simple it actually is to succeed, you don't have to waste your time and energy on all that kind of stuff. So just stick to the left side of the bell curve with Jerry and I, and don't get lost in the sauce there. And what was the last thing you were talking about there, Jerry? Yeah, you made a really good point that I was going to reiterate on or expand on. What was the last point that you were talking about there?
I don't know, dude. I'll be blacking out. Can anybody in the comments tell me what I said last? Bonds?
It might come to me. Bonds?
Was it bonds?
No, it'll come to me. I should have wrote them down, but anyways. Yeah, go ahead. What do we got here? 1971.
Yeah, so this is and George, this is why I love this right here, this show, we call it the Mastermind. And if you guys are fans, and George, this is why I call George my doppelganger, man. Napoleon Hill talks about this, right? He talks about mastermind. And the way the brain works, the way the human mind works, it's energy, right? And I could be the smartest guy in the world, right? But I can't see everything from just my angle, right? So when George is talking or I'm talking, first thing George says, "Oh my God, that was a good thing." When I want to remember what Jerry said. Then when he was talking from the other angle, I was like, damn, I never heard it that way. So the mastermind is you create a group of people, and it's almost like a godlike power where we all get together and we think of different things, right? It's a network effect of minds and energy. And when Jor was just talking and he said people shouldn't have to know this, well, this is why they have to know it, because this is what happened in 1971. Now, again, as Bitcoiners, we know what happened in 1933, but the most famous one, or if you will, the one that changed society, because they did it for a year. And, in 1933, they did it for a year, Executive 6102, repriced the gold, and then they went back to business. But when that battleship from Paris came over here in August of 1971, a lot of people don't know that, in New York City, and said, "Where the F's my gold?" Seriously. And a lot of people blame that. By the way, a lot of people blame that on Richard. France, yeah. They came over with a battleship. It's like, yo, we don't want this bullshit cash anymore.
Didn't Texas too?
Texas?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know about that. Tell me about that.
I thought it was, I always just remembered France asked for their gold, and Texas, like the state, also took their gold from Fort Knox.
Oh, wow. We're going to have to, hey, look at this. Sin's here. We have to ask Sin about that. Is AI actually intelligence, or is it just a torrent of past and present decentralized human intelligence that gathers and applies that info beyond the speed of human thought? Well, I always call Sin your AI's favorite AI, so Sin would know. But can you verify that, Sin, about the Texas thing? That's so funny. He came there, he's talking about Texas. See how shit works like that. So they came in, I believe it was the summer, June or July. Paris came with a boat and says, "We don't want this fake shit anymore," because America wasn't making anything back then. We're just sending a bunch of shit. But the reason I bring this up, because Jordan made a point. We shouldn't have to be financial experts. If you're a plumber or a drummer or whatever you are, you should just be able to go to work, be a specialized person in what you're doing, and then, save your money. But we can't because of what happened in 1971. And it's just a shame, man. It's a shame. But that's why we keep it basic and the basic principles here, because we know things are messed up. And that's how you teach people. You don't go on all into that Corey Clapton stuff, what he was talking about. Nobody cares about that. Nobody knows about that. And again, me and Jor and a few of you guys know about that because that's our world. But we got to keep things simple. AI is just a search engine, Sin, and it searches all the information stored on the internet. AI is just software. Okay.
I still didn't know what the hell he was talking about, even as a finance guy.
Wow.
So, Jerry, I kind of remember what I was going to talk about there because it related to AI. And you're right, because that's what you were talking about. You're saying that, well, AIs will use Bitcoin. And I think that's kind of been the theme of like why, there's going to be more demand for Bitcoin. And it's probably true. Like, I mean, like you said, you ask any AI agent, even if it's not connected to like your Google account, you could just go to any anonymous AI and ask them, what's the best currency? What currency is going to perform the best in the next 10 years? They're all going to say Bitcoin. It's a pretty unanimous part there. But I think it's also going to be like kind of, we started the conversation today talking about governments and abstract power. And I was looking at a video yesterday from, actually, I'll see if I can find it here quickly. But it was from What Bitcoin Did. And it was a conversation with Seth for Privacy. And I don't know if it'll still be here. But anyways, you guys might just have to trust me on this. But I looked at the video. There was 125 comments, I believe, under the video, like an hour after it got posted. I scrolled through the whole comments. It was all bots. Every single comment, 120 comments, bots. And it's just like, I know that doesn't seem like a big deal, but it is. Because how the hell are you going to get any sort of information if it's that easy and that cheap just to spam a network? And in this case, we're talking about a YouTube video. But Jerry, I'm sure you would attest to this. Like the bots and videos, 215 comments. And I'm guessing the majority of them are like, can you show my screen here for a second?
Yeah,
I got two things to show.
Where are we at here?
This idea of our money, we actually control.
Okay, so can you see this?
Bitcoin and our conversations.
Yeah, I can hear something too.
Oh, sorry.
Explain something?
Where we know
Okay.
what we talk.
Okay, so like I'm just going to scroll here for, a couple seconds, but you get the idea. These are all bots. 215 comments now. It's gone up since last night. These are all bots. So how do you get any sort of accurate information? How can you find anything when this is the internet that you're looking at? Right? Like it's impossible. Every single one of these comments is all bots. And so like this is where I think Bitcoin's going to come into this picture. And I don't know if it'll be YouTube or if it'll be something similar to that. But I made a tweet here. I said, if I was YouTube, I would implement a policy that doesn't allow you to comment on a video unless you pay. Hook up Lightning wallets to every account, charge 2 sats per comment, kind of like giving your 2 cents to something or your 2 sats to something. Take 1 sat for yourself for YouTube and give the other sat to the creator. Spam problem would be solved overnight. And so there's a couple things with this because 2 sats, I think at this exact moment is about a fraction of a penny. So if people really wanted to share their comment, I think that people would be okay paying a fraction of a penny to do it. But it would eliminate spam overnight because Bitcoin and its proof of work and its energy money, in the sense that nobody has the ability to just create more and more and more of it. Eventually they'll run out. And what happens when they run out? It's done. Nobody can, pass a law or sign a bill or, have financial aid. You can't fake Bitcoin. You can't create Bitcoin out of nothing. And I think that this is really what Bitcoin's going to do more than anything else. And this is actually going to be more demand than anything else, is it's going to anchor us to reality. Yeah, sat to chat. Or I think Sin called it one time pay to say or something like that. Pay to say. But it's the same concept, but it doesn't work without Bitcoin. You couldn't do this, number one, with a fiat currency because the banks want to, you could never send a fraction of a penny on the internet because there's too many hands that are being fed, too many mouths being fed from that one transaction. So it wouldn't work in fiat, but also people can manipulate fiat. They can create fiat units. They could, game that system. But with Bitcoin, it anchors you to reality because nobody can fake Bitcoin. Nobody can create Bitcoin without energy. So the energy part of this is really going to clean up the internet as we know it, and it's going to anchor us to reality. And we can see here, it's getting worse by the day here, probably by the second. So I think that it might not be AIs paying each other with it, but it's going to be cleaning up the internet and anchoring us back to reality. And only Bitcoin worked with that.
I fucking love that, man. I remember when I first heard you say that, I was like, damn, that is a really good idea, man. That would absolutely change everything up, but that's too good.
But yeah, it is too good. And I think that whether or not YouTube's still kind of playing fiat games, I don't know. But like, just think about from YouTube's perspective here. Think about it from YouTube's perspective. So right now, I'm sure that they're doing their best. I'm assuming, I would hope so, that they're trying to get rid of the spam, like these comments. Like that's insane. 215 comments, all spam in a video. It's not usable. It's past the point. So I'm guessing that they have resources allocated to trying to prevent this spam from happening, which what costs them money. They're incurring costs to try to prevent spam. All of a sudden, you implement something like this, where somebody's paying 2 sats to leave their 2 cents or their opinion on something. YouTube gets 1 sat from that every comment. So instead of like paying to try to stop spam, they would actually be making money preventing spam. So when you think about it from that way, like it's a no-brainer. It's just, I think that the gap there is that people wouldn't know what to do with it. You know what I mean? Like people will be like, oh, what's this Bitcoin Lightning shit? Like, what's this? I don't know what to do. I can't comment. I'm going somewhere else. So that's probably what it is. And so I don't know what the cure there is to bridge that gap between, the user experience, but man, it just makes so much sense to me.
Oh, that's perfect. And even a fraction of a sat, right? Like you always talk about, like, like right here, 0.2 or something like that. Oh, where we at? Right. Oh, I think Sin answered the question. Texas hit its own Texas bullion depository. The gold isn't from Fort Knox, though, but it came from New York. Unlike Fort Knox, it's open to U.S. citizens, residents, and business. Okay. Thanks, Sin. Seems like a good idea. Hope it does not interfere with freedom of speech, though. No, you can say what you want. You just got to pay for it. So people who don't understand Bitcoin can no longer write comments. Well, that's what he was saying. I mean, that's a good point. And again, we're coming from our little echo chamber and our little bubble. Like you said, George, people aren't going to do it, but it's going to take a few years.
But think about this though, like just if let's say that YouTube had this Lightning wallet that's built into every account, I think that would be very easy to do, very easy to implement. I think that you could probably credit people, let's say 200 sats or something like that, maybe every premium member first or something along those lines. But then people could essentially use their credit card, which is already hooked up to YouTube for the most part. And they could just, buy $2 worth of credits. I mean, people pay $5, $10 for super chats. What would be the difference? They could just essentially, just like Square does with their terminals, they could look after the transition behind the scenes. So you might be paying $2, but it's using Lightning or a stable coin of some sort. You know what I mean? So I really don't think that the hill would be that high to climb if they really wanted to do it.
I agree. And you saying this made me think about Cash App. Pay to say. Yeah. Cash App does this.
Exactly.
On everybody's phone that has Cash App, you got access to Bitcoin. And with that's how I bought my first Bitcoin. And when you have access to that, not only can you buy the Bitcoin, and I'm glad you brought this up because it made me think about it. They could give you little lessons about Bitcoin in your YouTube wallet / whatever, like Cash App does. Like Cash App, that actually might have sparked me to start my Satoshi Saturday series because they broke down what a Satoshi is. And Cash App would just give you little things. And then what's that's going to do? If you're receiving Satoshis or you're sending Satoshis or whatever, because that's what it'd be, a fraction of it or whatever, or Bitcoin, it's going to cause you to what? Want to learn what it is. So yeah, I love that idea, Jor. I absolutely love that.
They could give credits. Like if you watch a 2-minute video, you could get 5 sats on your account or 10 sats or something like that.
Absolutely. You're talking about adoption. Seems like a good Bitcoin marketing idea for sure. Absolutely. My song, Proof of Like. Yes. Sin sent something into me today, and I wanted to take a look at this. It says the SEC just sent a new proposal to the White House with amendments to custody rules that would clarify the framework for how crypto assets are custodied. This is interesting. Yeah, that's cool, man. And again, there's stuff like this all the time. It's like being a mouse with an elephant, taking a whole bunch of bites out of it. for adoption. We just need a bunch of little tiny things. Everybody thinks it's going to be a God candle, and I'm not saying it's not going to be a God candle for the price. But when it comes to adoption, when it comes to people actually adopting Bitcoin, I think it's a not a death by 1,000 cuts, but I think it's a life with 1,000 cuts, if you will, right? You got to bring it to life with a whole bunch of little things. Because, me and Jor have to pay attention to this stuff because we talk about it every day. And every time I type in Bitcoin and X, or, I Noster to a lesser extent, because I know they're biased towards Bitcoin. I like to go to the main news channel, whatever, main news source in the world. And that's X right now. I like to go there, and even normies sometimes talk about Bitcoin. So what do you think about not just this, Jor, but just adoption period?
Well, I actually wanted to touch on this comment that you just brought up here. He said, we need a Steve Jobs of Bitcoin, Jack Dorsey in it. I actually strongly disagree with that. And I think that if you would have looked at Steve Jobs for the first, I don't know, X amount of years of Apple, people probably would have said the same thing about Steve Jobs. And it's because guys like Steve Jobs and guys like Jack Dorsey are 10 to 15 years ahead of everybody else. And so when they appear that, they're not doing a good job of it, that's just because the average person hasn't caught on to it yet. I think that Jack Dorsey is everything and more of what Steve Jobs was, to be honest with you. Like what Jack Dorsey has built so far in his life is amazing. And he's the guy who's bringing the Cash App and the Square terminals, and he's allowing business owners to accept Bitcoin without even knowing what Bitcoin is. Businesses that use the Square terminals can be building a stack of Bitcoin without any knowledge of it, without customers even paying in Bitcoin. And he was the first one that did that. I think we're still so early in this whole thing that it doesn't seem like he's doing much, Jack Dorsey. But he has been funding all these different projects, and it was interesting to me. I saw this. That's crazy, Coinbase. But you look at Jack Dorsey and what he's done and what he's funded. People are giving him shit because he funded Luke Dasher with Ocean. Like Dorsey was a pretty big funder of that. But I think what Jack has been doing is he's just throwing money and Bitcoin at as many things as he can and just seeing what sticks. And he's not really biased on anything. Look at this guy. Looks like freaking Mr. Rogers. But I mean, if you actually go and spend some time and listen to Jack Dorsey speak and his ideas and the way he thinks, he's on a different level, man. Like I honestly would put him right beside Steve Jobs, if not even a little bit above him. And speaking of Steve Jobs, wait until Apple starts putting Bitcoin wallets in every single iPhone. That's still a huge beast that hasn't come yet, but it's going to be coming soon. Because that's what Apple does, man. They just wait for everybody else to figure it out. They let somebody walk through the door and get shot first, and then they just slide in and make it very easy for everybody to do once it's already been built, and they're the ones who benefit from it all. So I think that Apple's going to be a big one when that happens. Not if, but when that happens, it's going to be a big one.
I completely agree. I absolutely love Jack Dorsey. He's so ahead of his time. He's so misunderstood, and I think he's again, he's a human being. I don't like to make people heroes. You have to slay your hero sometimes, but I think he's overall a very, very net positive for human beings. I think he's not going to actually be appreciated until he's gone, especially with the Bitcoin stuff.
Like Steve Jobs.
Yes. I put him up there. I call certain people like aliens that could be from another planet. Like I put him up there with Elon Musk too. Jack Dorsey. He is. I'm not saying he's Elon Musk. Elon Musk is ridiculous, but I put him in that category. Dorsey back when he was a virgin. Yeah. So yeah, but to touch on I was just showing you something here.
Oh,
yeah,
Coinbase mortgages.
Yeah. So that's another chop at adoption. Breaking: Coinbase just announced they have now officially launched Bitcoin-backed mortgages. 120 million Americans can now buy a home using Bitcoin as collateral. This is absolutely historic. And we've already been seeing this stuff with the Bitcoin-backed loans and, mortgages and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that, real quick? And also, Brian Armstrong. Do you think he's a net positive for Bitcoin? What are your thoughts on him? I know you're not the biggest fan, but
No, I couldn't care less about Brian Armstrong, or what's his name? Brian Armstrong. Yeah, I couldn't care any less. Like he's I wouldn't even put him and Jack Dorsey in the same sentence. This guy, all that he had to do literally was just buy Bitcoin and just sell Bitcoin, and Coinbase would have been probably 1,000x more profitable than they are today. But he decided to go a different route and introduce a shitcoin casino. And as many good things that Coinbase has done through the years, they've done an equal or greater amount of bad things for the space. And crypto for the last 5 years anyways has been a very net negative for Bitcoin and Bitcoin adoption, because a lot of people tie Bitcoin in with crypto. They heard about these crypto scams and the FTXs and the collapses. And so they tie Bitcoin into that without knowing any differently. And Brian Armstrong's been a big contributor to that whole movement. And yeah, I don't like Brian Armstrong at all. And I don't really know what would change my mind on that. He seems like he's, maybe helping move Bitcoin adoption forward. And you could argue that, well, once people have a Coinbase account, once they lose their money in scam coins, then they find their way to Bitcoin. So he might be part of the bridge. But yeah, man, I'm just not a fan.
Sin says Brian Armstrong is an anti-alien. FYI, just look how many times he tried to eliminate Superman. I had something to say. He just completely threw me off. Thou shalt have no other idols but me, God. I agree. He says Dorsey was a sellout during COVID. Screw that guy. Okay, that's fair. But, Dorsey.
Well, it wasn't Dorsey. Just to be fair, it wasn't Dorsey. Dorsey might have been the CEO of Twitter at the time. But if you're familiar with public companies and how it all works, the CEO doesn't really have much of a say in anything. It's the board of directors that make the call.
And yeah, he was the front man. He was the guy in court, and everybody's like, "What the heck?" Then when I dug a little deeper, I found out that So just don't look at everything face value and surface level. Obviously, we're Bitcoiners, so we don't do that kind of stuff. But back to my own question. Yeah, I think this is cool what Coinbase is doing. My thoughts on Brian Armstrong are a little bit different. I agree with everything you said, but I try my best. Like with the situation with when Charlie Kirk got assassinated, I didn't believe it one bit that somebody else did that. But now that I'm looking at it because I was looking at it from a JFK 2.0. This is fake. This is I wasn't being objective at all. But now that
you thought that guy on the roof was the one that shot, or was it the guy on the roof? No,
I was 100% saying it wasn't him.
Yeah,
okay. But now, Jor, I'm looking at things different, right?
So you think it could have been him now?
I was at 0%. Now I'm between 1 and 3% now that it was him.
Okay, interesting,
right? And the same logic I'm doing with Brian Armstrong, because again, I'm a full Bitcoiner, maxi. I can't stand Brian Armstrong. He's the Lex Luthor to Bitcoin and all this stuff, right? But now I'm like, well, yeah, he's probably not the best guy in the world. He's probably not, pro Bitcoin the way as much as I want him to be. But then I'm looking at it from a crypto standpoint, because again, I don't have any cryptos, but I think crypto is going to be the onboarder for people. And most people, and I'm sorry, and I wish it wasn't like this, but I have to live in the world that I'm in. Most people that are going to buy Bitcoin are going to buy it from fucking Coinbase. That's just the way it is. Okay. Of course, we want them to buy it from, Bull Bitcoin and Bitcoin Well and Strike and River. That's what we want. Right. But we work with a guy on this show. He's kind of, and he'll tell you he's not really a Bitcoin crazy guy. I mean, he has all his Bitcoin, but he buys it from Robinhood. He'll buy it from regular custodians. So I think Brian Armstrong, not doing it on purpose, but I think he's going to be one of the biggest onboarder of Bitcoin people in the world. And I'm not saying he's doing it for a good reason. I'm just saying that's how important he is. My personal opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair to say. And I was just telling Jerry right before the show today that I actually bought some crypto today. So I can't even speak anymore. And so this will be. I'm not gonna say what I bought or why I bought it. I will say that it's related to Bitcoin, but I did trade about 100. What did I say? 120,000 Sats for some crypto today, just for shits and gigs. I've always said that. I've actually been pretty consistent with that message through the years. If you're like, you want to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% of your stack and just kind of like gamble on it or have some fun with it, I'm fine with that. It should just never impact like the majority of your stack. And for me, this probably would have been, well, I don't want to give any exact amounts here, but less than 1% of my stack, significantly less than 1% of my stack today. Had some fun with it. I figured it would spark some conversation in the chat. I'm not going to say which one because I'm not promoting it. It was just a fun thing that I did today.
Yeah, that's the first thing he said to me, and I was like, right before we came on the show, I had my mind set on something. He's like, "Oh, I was like, what?" Then he explained, and Jor's a very practical guy. So, anyway, speaking of Jor, this is our time, guys. Make sure you go subscribe to Jor from 88 Sats Radio, where he talks about Bitcoin every single day, and then other things on Happy Sats. He does a live stream every morning at what time, Jor?
10 a.m. Eastern time.
Yep. So he's got 2 channels going on. He's on Rumble as well. And make sure you guys check him out. And also, guys, please, if you haven't subscribed to the BTC Mastermind, go ahead and do that and share this video. Hit the like button. If you got some value, there's a little QR code over there in the corner. Zap some sats if you like. All right.
Somebody did actually, Jerry.
Oh, go ahead.
Somebody sent in 826 to the fund today with no message attached to it. So whoever that was, it was today at about halfway through the hour. So I don't know who it was, but whoever it was, thank you. And we'll hey, there you go.
Thank you for subscribing, whoever did that. Thank you.
Yeah, just keep showing up. Jerry and I are going to be here. We can't promise that the whole cast of the Mastermind crew is going to be here every day. We're hoping most of them show up on Tuesdays going forward. But Jerry and I are going to be here Monday through Thursday, every time. Same place, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern time. And we're just going to have some fun, man. That's what it is. We're not going to get too serious. We're not going to get too political. We're not going to go too far down anything. We just really want to, help break this whole thing. And it's interesting to me because we get to live through it. And this is kind of like documenting the whole thing. And we love having you guys and girls in the chat and being part of it. It just makes the whole thing, even more enjoyable for us. So appreciate you guys and girls being here. Keep showing up. We want to keep growing the reach here. And, as your friends and family are pouring into Bitcoin, as we see it going up and up and up, default to sending them here because we're both we don't overcomplicate things, Jerry and I. We're both proud members of the left side of the bell curve, but we get it. We understand what's happening here. We just don't want to overcomplicate it. And so I think that people appreciate that, at least the ones that are here. So send this channel. If your friends and family are interested in learning about Bitcoin, we want to make it very welcoming, very respectful, and very simple to understand in terms of where we're going here.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. And guys, listen, we are too early to Bitcoin. Fortunately and unfortunately, these are the times that we're living in a parallel world right now with Bitcoin on one rail and the fiat currency on the other. We're living in 2 sides of the ledger right now. And we're early because the price went up and everything else. And we got 23 people in here. Sometimes I get down about numbers like that, but then I'm just like, you know what? We're good, Jor. We're way too early, right? So just remember that. We just had 2 new subscribers subscribe. Thank you so much for that. I bought some H-bar today. Honestly, if Jor bought crypto and VHF is bull, 58K a chance. That's so funny. It's always a pleasure to have you guys here, and it's an absolute honor and a privilege to be up here with Jor. I look up to Jor in this space. In my personal opinion, I always tell him this. He is the best. He is the best. And I call him the Mr. Fundamentals of Bitcoin. He's the best YouTube principled baseline teacher on YouTube. And it's very, very cool to have him up here with me, man. There just aren't enough that many masterminds. Yes, exactly. By Bitcoiners. Yes. So thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, BTC Mastermind, right? BTC is be the change, and Mastermind is master your mind and be the change for your family. And make sure you change yourself in the best version you can. And you always will be, all right? Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. We'll see you guys tomorrow, all right? And until then, And as you guys know, we love each and every one of you, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. All right? Peace and love, guys.